Good morning, everybody. John Spector here for GAI Insights. If you want to follow along on our articles, go to gaiinsights.com/articles. Today we've got Paul, Luda, Tim, and Ankash. We've got some fantastic new things coming out of Google and also Meta, as well as a very interesting paper on the architecture of memory, which I think is going to be a huge design point going forward with AI, agentics, and robotics. So lots going on today. All right, Ankash, if you could start us off with the first one, please.
Thanks, John. So the first one that you have for today comes from Google, and it is about their Gemini 3 Flash Frontier Intelligence built for speed.
Yeah, what'd you think, Luda?
I think it's essential news. Really, they took the Gemini 3 and the Gemini 3 Pro, so the multimodal and deep thinking capabilities, put it together and pushed it for speed and scale. So essentially, this is now, I think, the fastest maybe model at the level of intelligence and performance that sort of neck and neck with OpenAI and beating it in a number of places. So I think this is essential news.
Yeah, hugely performant model. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I was between important and essential. It's Google. As I think we've been saying for a while now, this is, Google and Amazon both sort of are the Empire Strikes Back. Google is really making progress, and both, I think, in strategy and in product. And this is just another example of it. And 2.5 Flash really got them on the map. 3.0 Flash is another substantial improvement, lowered price. What's to argue with?
Yeah. Okay, Paul?
And Ankash, if you could move to the graph, that shows the cost and performance, how it dropped down. It's a mega drop, and that's what they are saying, that's important.
There we go. Pushing the Pareto frontier. Paul?
I wasn't optional. I mean, they've gotten faster. We're having a war that every single thing is incrementally faster. We've already established with the Gavin Baker post a few weeks ago that Google's really pushing to have the low total cost of ownership for closed, or lowest cost,
lower TCO. Yeah,
at least for token for closed. So I was an optional. I am excited that I'm a speed guy. I really like the speed, but I'm not sure what AI leader is going to do with this.
Okay.
I was important on this one, John. I'm slightly with Paul here. I think for a regular user, this does not make much of a difference. If you read about another news, so OpenAI, the toggle feature that they had, right, or they were turning those queries into thinking mode or non-thinking mode. They have removed that feature now. You can now go ahead and select because it was burning a lot more tokens and the responses were coming not fast enough. So might be useful for those users who really like the responses fast. But if they are like me, I use thinking mode every time I use ChatGPT or Gemini because they give better answers, right? So it doesn't make much of a difference for me. So I think AI leaders should know about this one. This can be very useful in certain use cases where not a lot of thinking is involved, but not essential, maybe important.
Yeah, I'm more with Luda is looking at the market leader here. This is a very different performance, cost performance thing, really thinking through, just what you're going to do. I don't know if you've played with some of the demos or looked at some of the videos they had in there. It's just amazing. Like what you can talk to the freaking thing and it comes up with a fully functional mobile app. I mean, that's amazing. So I don't know.
I agree. I agree. And as an AI leader, I can tell you, I think this is at least important, if not essential, because I think, Notebook LM was the first thing that Google did that really got my attention. And now this, I'm going to advocate that, I've been advocating you have to stay multi-model, you have to stay disengaged with a particular vendor. I'm going to advocate for this with the clients I work with and say, get beyond ChatGPT. This thing is powerful and inexpensive, and you need to be aware of it.
And mobile.
And if you're working in the multimodal and you need video and images, it's the leader, because the images come out much better than in OpenAI apps. So they are now with cost and speed envelope. I think this is like they are the leader, in my view.
Yeah, I mean, when I was teaching marketing, I would skewer people for doing what I'm about to do now, which is I'm going to generalize from my own experience. The you know, I'd be teaching some marketing thing and be like, hey, well, I would never buy that product. I'd be like, yeah, well, you're not a 75-year-old female, so you have no idea what you're talking about. But in this case, over the past 2 weeks doing client work and our research and writing and so forth, I found myself migrating to Google for lots of reasons: the performance stuff, the integration of multimodal, the integration into Google Docs is where Google Shop. I mean, I just just the actual doing of the work. I mean, Google's rocking the house, in my opinion. Anyway, all right, we're going to go for essential here. I know we spent a lot of time on this one, so we'll pick up the pace on a couple of the others.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one comes from OpenAI, and it is titled Measuring AI's Capability to Accelerate Biological Research in the Wet Lab.
Tim, what'd you think?
So this is another one of those, it's industry essential. So I see Vivek is chatting in the chat session here. For people like Vivek, this is absolutely essential. If you're in the life sciences in general, if you're in research, I could argue this is at least important, if not essential. Real research in any organization, whether it's a research organization directly or research within a larger organization. Beyond that, it's probably optional, because we've known this for a while, that as a thought partner, as a creative thinker, again, I hate to anthropomorphize, but at introducing novel ideas, these tools are pretty good. And this is specific proof in an important area of life sciences, which is amplifying cultures, basically. I mean, it's a broad area. This is particularly around DNA, but this is a huge problem. Not problem, I mean, it's a solved issue, but it's an important issue in almost all life science research, which is, I have a little tiny thing and I need 1 trillion or 2 of them. And how do I get from here to there as accurately and quickly as possible, which is incredibly complicated because biology is so complicated. So I won't go down that rabbit hole. But what this really shows is they got an enormous improvement using novel approaches from OpenAI. So very powerful. If you're in life sciences research, you got to be aware of this kind of stuff. You're probably semi-aware of it already, I would hope. But the proof here and the validation is critical.
All right.
But beyond that, unless you're really interested, it's optional.
All righty. So you're going to split the baby into important, or you're going to go optional?
No, I'm saying optional, but life science research especially, and maybe broader research essential. I don't think you can make this a single item in that sense. I think if you're in life sciences research, you got to read this. Anywhere else, this is gonna be insomnia material.
All righty, Luda.
Yeah, I agree with Tim. It's we talked about frontier research metric from OpenAI yesterday, and they're just pushing. They believe in science. They believe that these capabilities can aid science, and they are pushing that envelope. So certainly, it's very critical for any life science or any science folks, but optional for everybody else. So optional.
All righty. Akash?
Optional, John.
Paul?
Optional.
All righty. Next, optional it is.
I thought you were going to say essential, John.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This one comes from LangChain, and it is their State of Agent Engineering report.
All right, Akash, dig in, babe.
Yes, so this one comes from LangChain, and they have recently completed it, ran it in November and December this year, 1,340 responses overall. So it shows that companies are adopting agents, 57.3% 40%, they report that those set of companies have agents in production. 30% are actively developing agents. Then it talks about the top use cases, customer service, research and data analysis. But it also talks about the blockers with agents. So quality, which includes accuracy, consistency, behavior guideline. So that's the biggest blocker. So I think an interesting report. People who are interested in developing agents, running agents, should give it a read. Not an essential read, but important one.
All right, making the case for important. Decent little piece of research on a big area. What do you think, Luda?
Yeah, I'm with Ankash. Important. So every leader and every leader needs to know this, because agents, if they're not doing agents, I think they are. They're at least experimenting with them. What's happening with the others is an important data point. So I think it is important read.
All right, important background here. What do you think, Paul?
Call me on the frustrated. I'm 100% optional. I mean, what's the definition of agent here? Use an LLM. I mean, if I have my research group using deep research, is that the multi-agents? All they're using it here? You
No,
know,
they define them.
what's that?
They define agents, what they mean by agents, and
Yeah, it's non-probabilistic use of software in a harnessed environment.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, I'm with Paul 100% here.
I see.
Well, go ahead, Tim.
And because here's the problem. You know, I'm not usually a political person, especially at my stage in my career, but you go in and present this to a group of senior executives and you get somebody in there like, say, John Sfiocla or Tim Andrews, they're going to rip you 5 new a-holes on this study, okay? Which you do not want to be on the receiving end of, because it is so flimsy. It's interesting. It's okay. I'm glad they do something, but Langchain needs to like fire their entire marketing department, start over again. In my opinion, there's so much bias here. The people
that Langchain should hire a particular company that can help with their marketing department.
Okay, they should hire GAI, absolutely, or somebody, but because it's just too flimsy. It's just way too flimsy. Everything about it, as Paul said, the definitions, the bias is probably going to be introduced because it's just a random public survey. If they had put those caveats in there and they said, here's our methods and here's the limitation, but we still think we can derive this, maybe then you could make something out of it. But they present it like it's fact, even though it's self-reported and there's all these problems with the methodology. So I would not give this a lot of weight. I would say optional.
I think you make the convincing case.
Yeah, you make a convincing case. However, this is what's happening, and these are real companies doing the work with agents. So this is a data point, but I agree.
It is, but what data point is it? I think that was Paul's point. What do you really know? Because the definitions are so broad, it's self-reported. There's so many issues here that, you know, my thermostat is an agent. Okay, I have a thermostat at my office. We're using agents in production, right? I mean, I'm being a little extreme, but it's just hard to know what you would get out of this that would really be valuable, that would tell you something about the market.
Yeah, no, Tim, it's
funny.
funny.
You have a convincing point, because even on the distribution of who participated in the study, I was looking at that, and they derive conclusions about large companies, and there's only 9% in their population of large companies, so it's skewed by that as well. So methodology.
They make good tools. They need to find their marketing voice.
That's
a good company. Yeah.
All right, we're going optional on this one. Okay, Ankash, next, please.
Hey, yes, next one comes from Meta, and they have now introduced segment anything model for audio.
Yeah, talk about reinventing the hearing aid business. Here we go. What do you think here, Luda?
Yeah, I rated it important, not essential, but it is a push from Meta into audio that is very important to them, right? So because they want to be on mobile as a strategic move, this is important for them, and they are focusing on capturing and dissecting the voice signal, getting the cancellation and the like, versus like 11 labs, different approach. So this is an important movement from Meta, an important advance, I thought.
All righty. Paul, what do you think?
I'll give Tim my vote. I've been very vocal today.
Okay, Tim.
I would have suspected you said triple optional.
I'm going to go optional on this one too. This is everyday miracle stuff to me. It is amazing, and Meta does understand marketing because it's amazing just to look at this stuff. It's all eye candy, and it's remarkable what can be accomplished. It's just fairly narrow. Again, this is one of those things where if you're doing audio processing, yeah, this thing is potentially a game changer. But there are other things that do somewhat similar stuff. And again, unless you're in audio processing, I'm not sure where it goes. It's a pretty particular niche.
All righty.
So I like the thing about the hearing aids. This could be great for people. I would love to have something like this in my earbud in a crowded New York restaurant. Okay.
Yeah.
Where it would say,
there's a new startup that is doing that. I can't remember the name of it. It's hard to get hold of the. Cost you like about 10 grand or something like that.
So there's you can see applications that would be really cool using this stuff, but they're pretty limited.
I'll make a different case in a minute, but Akash, what do you think?
Optional, John, and I think the hearing aid company name is Fotel.
What's that?
The hearing aid company that you just mentioned, which is using AI for hearing aid, Fotel.
Okay. Yes, Fotel. Thank you. Yeah, see, I need that hearing aid, so I could have heard that. Let me make the case for essential. I think that in 26 and 27, we're going to see, when you think of, if you think of what we're doing with these LLMs, we're having a conversation, right? Unlike previous, and I think that's a completely different, our core modality of interaction. I don't know about core. Anyway, a big part of the market is the APIs do a lot of stuff in agentic. So, but let's talk about, dealing with humans. It's basically a conversation. We haven't had a conversational interface with a machine ever before this way. And then you say, okay, what's the nature of the conversation? What's the prime input? It's speech, right? And the prime input. So now I can filter the prime input in any environment. I think that's pretty profound. So meetings, we've already seen. Big uptick in doctor adoption of ambient capture of medical notes, right? Which is a huge issue for them. I think this notion of being able to go into any environment and pull out the sounds, especially voice, and I imagine you're going to be able to do it with multi, I can say, oh, that's Paul, that's Luda, whatever. I think that's going to transform the way that we interact with these models because, I think speech and short form video are two massive, speech both ways, listening to it, long form audio, short form video, and then dissecting the world into sound signals, especially conversation, is going to be a major new input. And I think really, I think it's going to be more important than the mouse in terms of how we interact with these things. Anyway, that's my case for essential. What do you think? I convince anybody?
I wouldn't argue with your thesis. I just think you're. Oh, go ahead, Luda.
No, that's why I gave it an important, because what Meta is trying to do is get the signal from different people talking or whatever, or music in the environment from the mobile device when it's fully open. So I think, I think that's the next wave.
Yeah, but I think you're, at least from my perspective, mischaracterizing where the market is. That already exists. Zoom AI, which is not the tip of the, the best thing in the universe, according to from my perspective, can do this already. It can identify voices. It doesn't get confused. Whisper from OpenAI is an incredibly good speech to text interface. It can do all this stuff. The advance here is doing it in a noisy background environment. That's the advance.
I think it's huge.
And okay, I'm not sold on that as to why that's so important, because I think most environments are not that difficult. I think this may turn out to be important. I think it'll get embedded in everything is what will happen. This will become a platform kind of thing, which is what Meta wants.
All righty.
Tim, I think the noise cancellation applications already exist, and I'm just blanking on the leader in that space.
They do, but it's hard. It is hard, in a crowded restaurant with a table full of people talking to identify the individual voices. The birds in the background stuff.
That's
hard,
right? That's the advance. And to
Yeah.
John's point, when it becomes like pervasive, that's what Meta wants, and that's what she's
Yeah.
fighting for.
And I agree that conversational interface is critical. Absolutely agree. But I can already walk down the street with Claude and Gemini and OpenAI, in New York City or some crowded environment. It doesn't really have that much trouble hearing me. Occasionally, the dictation isn't perfect, but it's pretty darn good already.
Yes. All right. This reminds me of a time when I was in my 20s thinking, I'm probably going to live long enough that they'll be able to extend my life and augment it with technology, but not make me younger. I think that's where we may be. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go important on this one. Ankash, next.
Just for the footnote, this is a product announcement, though.
It is a product announcement. Yes, thank you.
Right.
Paul,
Another thing. Right.
yes, Paul, hitting us with my grade inflation here. Okay.
Okay, the next one
Surplus,
is
susceptible to BS. Okay. Gosh, next.
Yeah. Next one is a research paper titled "Memory in the Age of AI Agents."
Yes. Well, this is probably the first time I'm going to give an optional to something I thought was really insightful and helping me think about the market, but I think it's a little early for our AI leader. I think this notion of how we think about the definition of memory and what the memory as a design parameter, and thinking about different kinds of memory. And these guys have kind of a funky little, when you think about it, theory of mind of the machine mind. I think is important. This is a great survey in terms of, I think does a phenomenal job of laying out. Akash, we go to the graphic that's, Monique, if you bring up the graphic, this notion of token level memory, parametric and latent, and then functional, experiential, and working memory, I thought was really, really interesting. Factual, experiential, and when you think, I think this is kind of cool in terms of being able to integrate all this work on context. And the reason I think it's important is that I think context is going to be a key differentiator in what we think of as quality of interface. When I go to one of these interfaces and I've got some kind of social expectation that it knows me or doesn't know me, very much what I should do with a human. I think we are going to anthropomorphize our expectations of these machines. It's like, oh yeah, you and I talked last week, blah, blah, blah. Or, hey, we share this notion of experiential memory. A lot of relationship has to do with what my expectation is about what experiential memory we share, right? So that to me is kind of a cool category. And then this notion of the diverse memory forms. So anyway, I thought it was a really interesting conceptual paper, a great literature review. I'm really going to dive into it and let it soak a little bit. But for me, it's essential. But I think for our audience, it's optional. So that's where I came out. Paul, what do you think?
I was optional. Yeah.
Ankash?
I was optional, John. I think it provides a really good compendium of what is going on in the LLM memory space, but it doesn't provide a way forward in terms of how we should use memory with agents. They say they don't want to focus on context engineering or other sort of memories, but what should enterprise leaders do with that? So that's the problem. So option for that reason.
All right, Luda.
Yeah, I was with you, John. I would have rated it essential if it wasn't for the technicality and the length of the paper. I think every thinking leader should actually read it and have a, like you said, and I put it aside to think about it and look at it closely, because you can't build in the current day and age without understanding how you can use memory effectively. This is like this is like an essential component of every leader understanding of what's happening. And it's very convoluted and has been very fragmented. So this paper puts it together into a reasonable ontology that you could then talk about with confidence, I think. Ankash, it doesn't say operationally this is how you do it, but there are many other other places where you could get that information. This is like a structural, critical piece that I think is very essential. But you can't recommend it as essential. It's 75 pages. It's very technical, so it's probably optional, but I will send it to a lot of people.
Yeah, I come at that a little differently. The reason I'm going optional is not because of the length, and I agree with Ashish there. I don't know if we could put that back up. That memory is the next frontier in terms of understanding what it is. So for me, Luda, I'm not recommending it because of its depth and length, but I'm not recommending it because I don't think it's for the reason that Ankash said. It doesn't give like kind of actual next steps. And I also don't think most of the AI leaders face this even as an architectural concern right now. You know what I mean?
I can buy this.
Well, and furthermore, what can they do about it? This is a topic for frontier models and researchers mostly. I agree. It's a hugely important topic. I think this is a good survey paper of where we currently are. Yeah. And, look, my background is in databases from way back when, and there's nothing more important than memory management at the end of it. I could argue there are other things too, but memory management is a crucial issue. And, but there's so many factors. So this is a good survey paper if you're in that world. Yeah. But if you're the average person, you don't worry about what databases do under the hood. And I don't think the average person is going to be worried about what these things do under the hood. The biggest issue right now, in fact, is the dramatically increasing price of RAM chips right now. And if that continues, that's going to be a real problem. But that's totally unrelated. It's just one of those things that happens.
All righty. We're running out of time here. We're going optional on this one. We've beaten it to death. And okay, last one, Ankash.
Hey, the last one comes from AWS, and it is a case study about how Tata Power COE built a scalable AI-powered solar panel inspection solution with Amazon SageMaker and Bedrock.
Yeah, I love this. 10 million households. Mr. Tata's going to town. What do you think, Tim?
I think this is again another good AWS case study. So I give it an important. It's got a good architecture. This is a real problem at scale, which is, in industrial engineering of various types. How do you do quality control, particularly in field operations, has always been a bugaboo. So this is a real advance in showing that you can take pretty complicated systems, solar panel installations and things that require lots of quality checks with fairly probably difficult infrastructure to deal with, both in terms of just bandwidth and location and camera quality, all the things. And they've gotten pretty good results. So 90%, something 80% reduction in revisits to the field. That's huge if you're in field operations. So I would give this an important.
All right, got important coming out of Tim. Paul, what do you think?
I'm with Tim. Important.
Okay.
With Tim, important.
Luda?
Important. AI goes to the field.
All right, democracy is over. I'm giving this an essential. This is John. Well, look, I'm heavily influenced by the fact Paul and I were just talking to a client of ours that is very much concerned about measuring lots of things in the physical world. And there's no question we're doing exec ed with a very top group of their folks. And I'm going to bring this up because for all the reasons you just said, Tim, I mean, it's the physical world. I mean, imagine doing this in India. You have 10 million, rooftops, and you're completely.
Yeah, I almost gave it essential. I'm not arguing with you. Yep.
All right.
I can support essential on this
one.
All
right. So Tim and I have conducted a coup. We've now taken over the rating for this one.
I agree with you, actually. So
I'll stay.
Another revolutionary
No,
coming out of the woodwork.
we haven't seen in the field cases where you measure the whatever physical things and AI helps to that level.
Yeah.
It's the quality, it's the speed. So it's AI goes to the field, and we haven't seen cases like that. So for that alone, I think it should be essential.
All right, essentially it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Although the one caveat and the reason I started it important is this is 90% traditional machine learning and machine vision. It's
Correct.
one little dose of Gen AI.
Yes, but it is the spice that makes the soup. All right.
Yeah. Sizzle for the steak. Yep.
All right, Ankash, if you give us top board, Paul, announcements?
Yeah, 2 announcements today at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. We have our weekly ChatGPT 101 for professionals. Join that. We're talking about how to do Christmas lists and everything else. And on Monday, we're going to have a fun session on Learning Lab talking about our predictions for 2026, led by John. And John, you want to talk a little bit about regular predictions? Going to do some wild cards as well.
Yes, we're going to do regular predictions, things like, the rise of small models and mobile and so forth, the advancement of science, but also some wild cards that if certain things happen that could, radically change things. So there's the normal trend stuff, but then there's low probability, high impact events that we'll also speculate on a few of those. All righty. Anything else?
Can we do a prediction model on how often John will overrule the analysts and declare something essential?
90%.
Work for me, no problem. All right. Hey, it's a constitutional democracy, not a democracy. Okay. We've got 2 essentials, 1 important, 3 optionals. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.